Monkey is a new dark comedy horror movie that is just hitting theaters this weekend. This one is directed by Oz Perkins. If you don't know who Oz Perkins is, he also directed Longlegs, which came out last year. You know, the one that people overhyped and said was like the scariest movie of all time, but it did give us like a vintage, classic, iconic Nicolas Cage performance. And this movie also stars Theo James. It stars Tatiana Maslany. If you don't know who she is, I mean, She-Hulk. She was She-Hulk. Story here is about these twin brothers and their father disappears, and then they're going through their father's old things. It's when they find this mysterious small like toy monkey. I don't want to call it a toy monkey because everybody in this movie seems to hate that, but it's this monkey with these drums, and they start to realize that bad things seem to happen to people when this monkey is involved. Fast forward now a couple decades later, the monkey resurfaces in their lives. Once again, bad things are starting to happen to a lot of people. Thus, we have a dark comedy-esque movie that deals with a monkey that is somehow causing people to die. I actually liked Longlegs, even though I do think it was a little bit overhyped due to the marketing. I like Oz Perkins. I was looking forward to this movie. I like his visual style that he brings to a lot of his films. He definitely brought a good visual style to this movie too. I mean, this movie utilizes a lot of elite camera work to invoke tone and heavy atmosphere. That's what this movie really dials in on when it wants to. A lot of zooms and a lot of great shadow contrast to really emphasize when something needs to be kind of scary or kind of creepy. Like, the movie's not scary at all, but for these few moments, it feels like it could be. In regards to the actual tone of the movie, it is a dark comedy, and they lean full into the comedy aspect of the genre. So a lot of this movie is really just a lot of jokes. Even with that, you have a pretty intriguing premise here. You have a premise that feels like the monkey version of Final Destination, or even better yet, it feels like the monkey version of Death Note. I feel like if you watch the trailer, you get that vibe going into the movie. The idea of a monkey that kind of beats its drums and then bad things happen randomly to people, like, it can lead to a lot of unpredictability, because in Final Destination you had no idea like how people were gonna die. You just knew that it was gonna be done in some really elaborate or creative way, and it was gonna be an awesome death. This movie does have a little bit of that. There are a couple of deaths that I would say are very creative, very inventive, and definitely a few of them that are more than gory. Biggest thing I have to praise about this movie actually is the performances. The performances here are all good. Theo James, good actor, does really good work here. He's playing a dual role since he's playing his twin brother, so it's always interesting to see actors sink their teeth more into roles where they have to play multiple people. You can tell that Theo James took one look at this script and was just like, oh yeah, that shit looks like a ton of fun and I'm gonna have fun with it, and he absolutely does in this movie. I would actually say Christian Convery, I think that's his name. He's the kid who plays the twins when they're kids, and I think that he's actually one of the best aspects of the film. Definitely a very underrated performance. I think there's enough here where if it's not gonna hit the peaks of Final Destination or Death Note, vibes at the very least are going to remind you a lot of those type of films, and in terms of execution, at times it pulls it off. I did say at times, and if it does feel like I'm tempering myself for something a little bit unenthusiastic in terms of the reaction, well, that's because I'm a little bit unenthusiastic when it comes to my reaction to this movie. Guys, I gotta say, I did not love this movie. In fact, I'm a little bit disappointed. I feel like I'm gonna be the weird one. I'm gonna be the outlier on this because most everybody else is gonna have a fun time with this movie, and honestly, that's pretty awesome. I'm really hoping that everybody does enjoy this movie and that I am just the weird one. But the weird one does have some takes here that I hope you guys bear with me on. For starters, I do feel like this movie suffers from some stalled momentum. The first 30-ish minutes of the movie, when it's focusing on these kids, like these twin brothers when they're smaller, and them discovering this monkey, I feel like that was actually the best part of the movie because it did combine dark comedy with some real emotional stakes, like especially Hal, one of the twins that's kind of a nerd and getting picked on a lot. It's actually like a personal family connection in the first 30 minutes that the rest of the film struggles to rise to meet that. After these twins grow up and become men, it feels like the movie loses all sense of character depth, and all of the emotional stakes just slowly get drained out of the movie. There's a lot of dead spots in this movie where you could be getting great character work or great development or some combination of something that makes you feel something, and the movie is not really interested in making you feel anything. The only thing it really seems interested in giving you is a bunch of moments for you to laugh at, and it just feels like the movie spent a lot of time pausing to make you laugh. It just feels like it spent less time giving you characters that you should give a shit about while that's happening, and I don't know, it made the movie feel a little bit more boring than I think they intended it to. What also makes the movie feel boring is the complete lack of tension throughout, like especially in the second half of the film. There's no real tension in The Monkey because it feels like all of the death scenes in the movie are played for comedy. Like, there's not a single serious death in this movie that you're not supposed to like sit back and laugh while the character pauses and waits for you to laugh. In fact, some of the death scenes are just, they're cut off. Like, some of them feel like they cut off and go to the next scene. This kind of undercuts cuts any tension that the movie could have had. And that's fine because the movie isn't trying to be like a tension-filled type of thing. But I do feel like it would have added something to the movie, and it would have made me actually give a shit more about the scenarios and the situations if the movie every now and then decided to take certain things seriously. You know what? I honestly could forgive the little conflicting tone stuff. Like, I probably would be cool with it if I felt like the movie was actually funny. Humor is subjective. Yeah, I get it. And everybody's gonna say that, and there's gonna be a shit ton of people out there that are gonna find this movie way more funny than I did. I just don't think the script was that funny. Like, I just feel like the dialogue, the humor, it's not hitting, it's not biting, it's not sharp enough for me to actually feel like funny things are happening. It needs to rely on the death gimmick of this monkey beating the drums and then somebody dies. Unfortunately, I feel like it's not put together as elaborately, as creatively, or as funny or as interesting as it does for the other films that this movie's clearly trying to copy off of. I was actually gonna leave this one in the Daily Planet, like give it a little bit more of a positive spin, but then I had to ask myself, would I be interested in rewatching this movie? And that kind of made the decision easy for me. The Monkey was a cool watch, nothing special though, a little disappointing. I'm gonna leave this one in the Fortress of Solitude. I know, I'm a weirdo, and I'm probably the one guy on YouTube that's not gonna like this movie, but it is what it is. So guys, The Monkey, tell me, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or give me your favorite Final Destination movie of all time. Go ahead and put that in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.